All right, so this is a tutorial about GDT 10. So you're faced with those four booklets that you need to design for design fundamentals, layout and composition, color theory, typography, and images are the first four that we suggest that you should touch upon. And if you have time, but you don't have to, if you have time, you can do the time-based design and web digital design. You have to understand that the time-based design and the web/digital design are really based on all the four first subjects, such as design fundamentals, layout, composition, color theory, of course, and typography and images. So I've already done a little bit of a research for specific topics that are in our GDT 10 checklist. If I zoom in a little bit so we can see it better right there, I have design fundamentals right here. This would be the first booklet right there. And I have, of course, what we always say, what's your crap, as in CRAP, contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. These are the four really basic fundamentals, building blocks of graphic design. And of course, balance, space, unity, variety, etc. So I'm not going to do all of them because that's going to take way too long. But I'm going to start a document right here for just the design fundamentals booklet. I've already researched and found a bunch of images for a bunch of subjects, and I've put them into my GDT folder right here. So I have a GDT images and GDT text, GDT 10 images and GDT 10 text. And I have subfolders in there, so I have a bunch of them. So I have, alignment, color, contrast, emphasis, hierarchy. I've done, a little bit more research than what's really needed. But I have, again, I have the contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. These are the ones that that I have right in here. So as a quick example, I'm going to show you some images that I grabbed. So again, those images some of them are fairly small, some of them are fairly large. I always try to look for the largest possible images on Google if I'm looking for visual examples for graphic design. That way I can use them in the booklet without loss of resolution if I don't have to stretch them up. And so everything looks pretty good. So I'm just gonna flip through them quickly. You can see there's a high contrast in this one, and the contrast in this case can be of course, contrast as in color, like black and white in this case, but it could be contrast in size, in scale. It can be contrast in typography as well. You can have a serif, a very classic typeface, and a sans serif, or in this case, you have something that is very geometric and in the split letters, that gives a bit of a roughness to it. It can be contrast in color, of course. You hear mostly black and white, and then you have just that little bit of red type on top. You have contrast again in color. Here, this is an example that can be used for both color theory, for alignment in this case, for multiple subtopics, of course. That's what graphic design is about. You kind of use all of those theories, and then you kind of merge them and mash them together to create your designs. In this case, again, contrast in shape, and this also could be used in negative shape, the negative space, I should say, negative space. Here, again, contrast in color. This also could be used for asymmetry layout. So it's not a symmetrical layout. It's not balanced. It's off balance for a reason, to have motion. Again, same thing here, high contrast, black and yellow. And again, it can be used also for alignment as well, because everything is centered, etc., etc. So in this case, again, contrast is based on colors, but also shapes, negative space, etc. I'm not going to go through all of those images that I have. I just wanted to show you some examples that I searched. So how do I search for stuff like this? I'm just going to go into Google Chrome right now. And in the search I go proximity examples, graphic design posters, right? Because I'm looking for proximity. So in this case, I have already a bunch of, images opened, and sometimes it's a poster. In this case, it's this really cool little deer. But sometimes it's a logo. Unilever is a big conglomerate, and that's their logo. They make a lot of soaps and dish soaps and whatnot. So you have all those examples in there. And then proximity is also used in this case in typography as well. So you have a bunch of examples. So I'm trying to stay away from the generic looking symbols like this, you know, the very simple ways to explain proximity or repetition or whatever with those basic shapes. It's a great start to explain that to somebody that has never heard of what proximity is about. But I personally prefer to have examples that apply those concepts into an actual layout, such as in this case, this lovely little poster right here. So in this particular case, I'm gonna grab this image like this. I think it's pretty cool because it's proximity, but proximity not just in layout, but there's also a lot of things going on in typography here, and I think I like it. I like it a lot. So I'm gonna right click on it and go open image in new tab, and then make sure that it's a JPEG. Yes, good. And then I go save image as, and I'm gonna put that into my proximity folder right here. I'm gonna add type right there. There you go, save. And then I can close that. So for this particular case, again, I can do the same thing again, unity or variety. So I can go unity again in here in my image search on Google, and I can find unity examples in here. There's a whole lot more visual examples that are quite beautiful, like the Madman here, that poster, which is beautiful, as well as this lovely type-based poster as well. Anyways, it's really up to you to find good, proper, solid examples that really explain those concepts in a very simple, visual way. Again, try to stay away from this. You know, that's kind of okay, sure. I understand that is actually quite a simple way to explain it. This is about balance, by the way. This is good balance on the left and then bad balance on the right. But again, it could be used as a symmetry on the left and then asymmetry on the right. So these again are the super basic graphics to explain those concepts and those topics, and I try to stay away from them personally. Anyways, so there's lots of really incredible examples out there. So dig around, find something to explain those concepts. So now that I have some images, I'm just going to hide this, put this away. Now that I have some images, I can look for text. So I can do multiple ways. I have in the support folders in the Teams channel, we have a GDT10 folder that has a bunch of documents, a bunch of ebooks, for example, color design workbook in this case, design elements, a graphic style manual. So you can copy and write some examples from those particular books, such as, graphic design, the new basics. This is a book used at the University of Calgary. It's a brilliant book. If it's an actual PDF document and not a scan, like the color one that I just showed you at the very beginning, you can probably open that up directly into Acrobat and copy paste some of the text from the book. Remember to just give the book's credits. But we have all those support documents, and we have also some examples in there that have been done by past students. That's one of the ones I've done for color theory, which is not complete, but it's an example. This is another example from another student. So you see that the contrast page right there has a little bit of a text. It's not very, very much because we are visual people. And here, by column, in each column in his layout, which is a five column layout, you have contrast in color, contrast in size, contrast in style, of course, and contrast in shape and form. And you also have, again, contrast in typography, contrast in, there's a bunch of different ways of presenting contrast. Again, that's another option that has another page layout that he has done. The typography, the anatomy of typography right there. Anyway, so there's a bunch of different options in there. So we have all those documents there for you as references. We also have some links in the folder as well. But what I want to grab quickly actually are the text that we have. Actually, this is my backup, but the text that we have in the GDT10 folder, in the files in there, we also have assets, and we have booklet text. So we have already some documents in there for you to copy paste the text directly and use that text, but remember to read it. So we have a Word doc, a series of Word doc right there, and I'm just going to grab the design fundamental text right here. So I'm just going to grab that one and download it. There you go. I'm going to work from that document because I don't really have the time to look for it, my own text right now in this particular demo. So I have my images right there and I have my text right there. So I'm just going to drop that text file that I grabbed. It's in my downloads, and I'm just going to drag it over. There you go. So now I can have something to work from, right? So I'm going to open that up in Word. And in the meantime, while Word opens, I'm going to start a new document in InDesign. So I'm going to start a new document. I'm going to pick my print presets. I can go with any kind of print presets. Remember that it should be a little booklet, not necessarily a huge poster or anything in this. So you have a letter, legal, and tabloid. These are printable sizes, on the regular type printer. But you can go smaller. You can do European format if you want. You can customize your own format. So I can do, let's say, an 8x10, for example, 8x10 inches. Facing pages, I want to have that because I will have a cover and multiple pages. I want to make it at least, to start, 8 pages. I want to have multiple columns because I want to be able to have a flexible layout. So I'm going to make it 6 columns. Again, these are my personal choices. 1/4 of an inch. Oh, and I'm going to make it horizontal. Actually, I'm going to make it 11. No, I'm going to make it 10 by 8. There you go. My margins, unlock that. I want to increase my margin on the inside to, let's say, 1 inch, because that will be my spine. Outside, bottom, top, 1/2 inch, sure. That's good, and I'm going to add some bleed to it. That's about it, really. So this is a standard kind of document. I want to make sure that you're customizing your document according to your needs. The number of columns, the margins, and the bleed, it's really kind of a standard way for me to work. But you find your own structure. You create your own structure. If you want to have 10 columns, if you want to have smaller margins or bigger margins, that is up to you. Experiment with that. So I'm just going to create this document right here. And there, voila, it is blank. As you can see, it has a nice margin on the inside of the page and my 6-column layout. So perfect. So what I'm going to do here quickly, right away, right off the bat, is I'm going to create some paragraph styles that I'm going to work with. I don't have anything in there yet, but I'm going to go create a couple of new paragraphs. So I'm going to name this guy header. And I want to have some kind of big header in a cool typeface. So I'm going to find my typeface that I want, and since I'm not sure what they look like, it's kind of a backwards way of working. I'm going to use Railway. Is there an extra bold, regular, and italic? Sure. And I'm going to make it, let's say, 20 points. And I can always change that later, right? So my header, 20 points, make it quite big. Character color, I'm going to keep it black for now. And I'm going to add a space after my indented spacing, meaning there's a little bit of a separation between my header and the text following. So I'm going to add, this time I'm going to put like quite the separation, because it's the header. It needs to be on its own. So again, that's a concept in graphic design. It's emphasis as well as hierarchy, right? So I'm creating some visual hierarchy within my documents. I'm creating a header. I'm going to create a title, and I'm going to create a body copy type, just to get started. So I click OK. And if I put a text frame, again, this is my cover right here. So I'm going to put my text frame in my first page right here, my inside font cover, I should say. And I'm going to type header, right? So this is my style for the header right here. And I can go back into my paragraph style. I want to have it bigger. So I'm going to double click on that. I'm going to go into my basic character format, and I'm going to change the case So instead of normal, I'm going to have it in all caps. Make sure you have your preview turned on. You go all caps, and now your type is all in capitals right there. And I'm going to make it really big. I'm going to make it 50 point. So it's going to be quite emphasized. And again, good visual hierarchy right here. And I'm going to click OK. Now, I'm not happy with that typeface. So I'm going to go through my typefaces right there so I can see a preview of it, and I can select what I see right there. So I can go, oh, Montserrat, there's an impact right there. Myriad Pro, then condensed. You know what? I like the condensed. So I'm going to find a condensed. I might have some better condensed typefaces in my collection. Again, you can use the collection of typefaces that you have installed in your system, or you can go through, if you have your own subscription for Adobe CC, you can go to Typekit. So you go to adobe.com, sign in, and use Typekit, and you can just basically browse through their library of typefaces, turn them on, use them as and use them as needed. So I'm looking for something quite narrow and tall, if possible, please. Let's see, Gotham condensed, sure, but it's not that sexy. Well, I mean, it is pretty cool. Come on, condensed, but I'm going to make it thick. So I'm going to use the ultra. There you go, my ultra version, or maybe not, my bold version. And I'm going to make it even bigger because I'm crazy like this. I'm going to make it 80 points. And now you can see in my paragraph style, I've edited that outside of my paragraph style. So I have that little plus attached to it, meaning you can see as I hover over, it says overrides, meaning it's been edited outside of my paragraph style. So I can go back into my paragraph styles, find the typeface again, or what I can do is I can right click on that and I go redefine style. As soon as I do this, the little plus disappears, and now this is my style right there. So this is a good start, right? I'm going to hit the return right there, and I'm going to put that in there, title and copy. So these are, again, they're all the same header styles, etc. Right? So I'm just going to change that one to, instead of Gotham condensed, bold, I'm going to go with medium. And I'm going to reduce it this time. 20 point, it's quite large. Let's say 25. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to use my eyedropper right there and click on the type right there. That's better because I forgot to include the return. So, and then in copy right there, I'm going to get rid of my all caps. I'm going to change from Gotham condensed to, let's say, something simple. I'm going to go with the Times regular, and that will be my body copy. And out of that, I'm going to make that 10 point. So this is the fonts that I have and I want to use them. So my title right here is great, but again, this is all based on my my header style. So in this case, I want to create a new style right here. I'm going to apply it. So now this is my style. I'm going to double click on that and call it title. And I'm going to change the space after. So I can do the same thing. I can double click onto my paragraph style dialog window, and I can go in there and then change my space after, change a bunch of different things in here, or I can just go again into my control bar at the top, and here you have your character and you have your paragraph styles. So if you're on a laptop, you might see only half of one, and then so by clicking over the paragraph or your character formatting options, one will appear over the other, whereas on the large screen, they switch sides. See, so the character is on the left-hand side, and if I click on the paragraph, now my paragraph formatting are on the left, and then all my characters on the right. So in this case, I don't want to have my title, I don't want to have that much space behind. So I'm going to reduce that. I'm going to add 0.125, which is 1/8 of an inch. And same thing for the copy. I don't want to have 0 at all, like none whatsoever, or maybe just 0.125 as well. And the title is all caps. So I don't, I'll keep it in all caps. But at this time, I'm going to make a color for it. Let's see. I'm going to make a tint. Let's make it a tint of 70%. So it's nice light and gray, for example. So now that I have this, again, my little plus appears. I redefine my style. and it's taken care of. And then this one, the copy, same thing. I can click also on the hamburger menu or the flyout menu, and I go new paragraph style. And then I get into this paragraph window right here that says paragraph style 1. So I'll call it copy. And it's based on the header, so I don't want that. I want to have no paragraph style whatsoever. Again, there's only 0.125 space in between my paragraphs. Again, I'll show you what that does. Character color is black. Super simple stuff, basic. I want to keep it simple for now. I just want to have my first line indent. I'm just going to add a little bit of an indent just to separate those big blocks of text. And I want to make sure that I have my balanced ragged lines, and that'll show you what that does. So now that I have this, I can, for example, I can go into my type and I can go fill with placeholder text, and this is what my copy would look like. So it's got a little bit of a separation between paragraphs, and I'd say now that I have this, let's say this would be my title right here. That would be it right there. I apply it. This is my header. All of this is my body copy. Or should be copy right there. Actually, it's not applied right there. Now that's my copy right there. Now you see that little indentation. And the balanced ragged lines means that it doesn't make really long lines and a few short words on the final line. It kind of balances the whole paragraph. In this case right here, I have hyphenation turned on. So I can go back into my copy right there, and I'm just going to turn it off. And that fixes that. You can see hyphenation turned on and hyphenation turned off. So I'm happy with that. And I'm going to work from that. So now I can delete this. I don't need it. I have my styles. They're set up. Good. I'm going to go back to my Word document. And there's my design fundamentals copy for GDT 10 that is provided to you. I'm going to go again, switch over to my checklist, design fundamentals, contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. So I'm going to start with the contrast. So I'm going to look in there in this document, and there's my contrast text right here. Contrast of text, etc., etc. So I'm going to grab this. I'm just going to copy that. I'm going to go back into my InDesign document. I'm going to put it on my right page right here. I'm going to create a text frame right here. I'm just going to paste the text right there, just like that. No formatting whatsoever in this case. It's really nothing fancy. I want to have a simple cover that is quite striking. So since the document is called Design Fundamentals, I'm going to do a funky cover for that. So I'm just going to put a text frame in there. I'm going to paste the design fundamentals that I grabbed in there, apply the header. And this is what I'm going to do here. So this is my text frame. And by default, the text always starts at the top, right? What I want in this case is, I'm going to change it manually, but I'm not going to redefine my paragraph styles. I want to have it aligned to the right, to be aligned to my margin on the right-hand side. And I'm going to right-click in my text object right here. And I'm going to go into text frame options, which is Command B or Control B. And in this case right here, you have your text frame options. I'm going to move that to the top right here. You have text frame options. So in this case, I can make the number, for example, in this particular text frame, I have only one column, which is fine because the text runs across all 6 columns. But what I want is, you can also have the inset spacing, etc. And I can go over that. I go over that into other tutorials. But I want to have the text starting at the bottom. It's always by default, it's always at the top. I want to have it at the bottom right here. So I have it a little bit more striking right here. And above this design fundamentals, I want to put a return in there. That's my cursor in there. I'm just going to put the title in there. Oh, it's messing things up. So I want to have my header. And then this is my copy, my title. There it is. I want to have GDT 10. And there's my design fundamentals. So I'm aligning things in a weird kind of way. And I'm going to change a few things right there, right? So I just want to go like this, and I go advanced design techniques. There you go. Just want to, put some text on the cover. Advanced design techniques, GDT 10, design fundamentals. There's the title of my series of booklets. And this is the title for my booklets in question, the one I'm working on. So I have something that is quite simple. And I want to do is change my 80 point over 96 leading. That's the space between the lines. I want to reduce that to bring the one that is above a little tighter like this. Again, that is, what is this? It's about proximity. That's correct. So I have my cover and it's super simple, super boring. What I want to do is I want to create a frame behind that. So again, I have my bleed around. So if I want to have an image or a block of color, for example, that goes past the edge, and in this case, this is what I want. I want to have a black cover right here. I want to start my object starting from the bleed, not from the edge of the document right here. I want to start it from the bleed, from the outside of the edge of the document. And you've touched upon that in InDesign class already. So I just want to do this, and I want to put that in the background. So I can use shortcuts. I know a bunch of shortcuts to move things forward or back, but I can go right-click in there, arrange, send to back, and send to back, send backwards. These are the shortcuts right here. And so now it's in the background. I can hide. So if I hit my W key, you see the preview mode changes. So I have my title right here, and I want this in white instead. So I go back into my color or my swatches, whichever, whatever works for you, and I'm going to make it paper right there. So design fundamentals, there you go, on white. And what I want to do is, because we're going to work in CMYK, in cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, it's a print document. I want to make something a little funky right here. I want to create 4 little blocks. I'm going to use my margins, my columns. I'm going to make them right there. So I'm going to go C as in cyan, pure cyan right here. You see that's the size of my little box right here is 1.2083 because that's the width of my column, but the height is 0.022 inches. So I want to make it 1/4 of an inch. So here I'm going to scale it from my reference point. I want to scale it from the top, and I want to increase or decrease the height. So I'm going to use just, something small like this, 0.1875, which is 3/16. Yeah, 3/16 of an inch. And I'm going to duplicate that right here. I'm just going to press and hold my Option and Shift key to duplicate and move horizontally. And I have a little bit of a repetition going on right there. Except I want to sit the cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. So I'm going to go cyan. This is the magenta right here. It's a pure cyan, pure magenta. This is a pure yellow. So I have cyan, magenta, yellow, and then black. How am I going to do the black? I'm going to do the other way around. I'm going to make a white stroke around it. There you go. So again, as soon as you add a stroke, it always goes to the center of your stroke. And if you open your stroke panel in InDesign, you can change where you align your stroke. Right now it's in the center, but I can put it on the inside, and that is exactly the size of the other shapes that I made, just like that. So there's my cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And another thing I want to do is I want to create something really funky with playing with type again. So I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to make this really, really large. Fast forwarding here through the design changes of making the type fit, making it larger, smaller, changing the kerning, changing the leading. But what I want is actually I want to have a very low contrast in this case. I want to have a 95% over 100% black right there. And now I can push this in the background, for example. If I want to, I can put it all the way to the bottom. Select the one behind and move it to the front. It doesn't want to. Okay, arrange, bring to front. There you go. So I have something a little funky like this, and it's just, again, really high contrast, really low contrast. It's just, something to play with. So there's my cover, and now I can start to tackle my text. So I have, again, my paragraph styles right here. I have contrast is my header. This is my body copy right there, and then there's a contrast of size, of shape, of type, and of color. So in this case, I want to make sure those in the original type were just highlighted in a different color. And I don't want to do that. I want to create that as a title. So I want to hit a return right here, and I want to apply this as a style right here. Get rid of the period right here. There you go. So now I have contrast of size, shape, color, etc. In this case right here, I want to have an intro paragraph. So this is my body copy. So I'm going to make that 12 point, and I'm going to increase the leading right there, and I'm going to make it bold. So I have, again, a little emphasis, right? A little bit of a hierarchy. So again, I'm going to create a new paragraph style. I'm going to call that intro. I don't want to have a first line indent, and I want to increase my space after. So I want to reduce the amount of text frames as much as possible. In this case, I have just that few, so it's perfect. I'm pretty happy with that. But what I want is I want to have those contrast of size, etc., in their own column. So in this case, I have 6 columns of text, 4 objects. Not really happy because I want to show examples on each page. So you know what? I'm going to keep it like this. I'm not going to move things around too much. What I want to do is I want to create another text frame onto the next page, so the text will flow. So I click on the little corner right here, the little white corner right there, and then I move it to the next page right here, and I create a new text frame right here. So those text frames now, although there's no text in this particular one, in the second one, are linked. To show that, you go into View, Extras, Show Text Threads, and you can see that they're linked. So if I put like this, instead of a regular return, I hit an enter, which is a hard return. It's also under break character, and you can do I believe it's called a page break. And now it pushes the text to the next page, as you can see, right? So now I have a lot of space here that I can fill with, right? So I can go contrast of size, and now I can bring my images in there. So I go back into my folder with all the images, and I can go into my contrast, and I can look quickly, do a quick preview of it. So I have contrast in size right here, and maybe in here as well. I don't have very many contrast of size right there, so I might just grab that one for now. I'm just going to drag it over. And because it's a white on white, I run into a little problem here. I run into a, well, contrast problem. So I don't see the edge of my document. So what I can do is I can do something super simple. I can add a little stroke, a very thin little stroke like this, and then that it really show my document. It's pretty simple. So this is a quick example of how you can do things, right? Another way is to create some multiple columns within your text frame. So again, here I right click on my text frame options, and I want to have, let's say, number of columns right here. As you can see, it splits the text. My gutter is going to have to be matchy, so it has to match the same width, which is 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to make it only 3. There you go, 3. So 3 columns. So because I have 6 columns right here, I can do 2 and 2 and 2. So if I reduce my text frame, the text will flow into the next column. And I can do that like this all day long. But again, it's a little problematic here because I want to have the contrast of type on the second column and contrast of color on the third column. So what do? I do exactly what I did earlier. I insert my page break or my column break. So it's the same thing as hitting the enter key instead of the return key if you have a full-size keyboard. And then delete the space right there. So now they're all aligned, and I have a little bit of a layout here that balances things out. So what I can do here as well, I have a bunch of other options in my toolbox. I can right-click again on it. I can go text frame options, and I can add column rules. What it does, a rule is just basically a line. It's like a little thin divider like this. So if I click on that, there's my little divider that really divides the space in between. By default, it's 1 point. I want to make it thinner, and I can make it, black, or I can make it a tint, for example, so it's not as visible. So it's just a hint. It's 30%. There you go. Click OK. So you have those tiny little thin dividers. You have enough contrast in your layout. You have enough emphasis. You have something to work from, right? So from there, I can bring more text in. I always start with text first, with the copy, then I bring images in, right? So contrast of shape, contrast of type, contrast of color, again, all of those things, I can drag them from the various examples that I have. So contrast of color, for example, I have those two. So I'm going to drag them over. Again, I show my my structure right here, so I can have the taxi driver image, and it can be more or less, you know, big or small, whatever, as long as they fit and stick to your margins, it's good enough. So in my case right here, I want to make them a little bigger, and I want to just, you know, align them to the bottom right here, for example. And I can just bring in more stuff as I go. So contrast of type. I think it was under maybe typography. We'll have some examples of contrast in typography. This is definitely contrasty because there's very thick and handwritten and very narrow typefaces in there, and some of it is all, you know, all caps and lowercase, etc. So I have a bunch of those images and examples for typography. But in this case, this is beautiful. I can use that, right? So I'm going to use that guy right there, the Kunst. I'm just going to drop it in here. Contrast of shape, contrast of type. I just want to, you know, make this one a little bigger because it's lovely, and then the text can be more visible right there. And I want to go again into my shapes. So maybe I have some images in my negative shape. So I have this, for example, which is really cool. That's a cool contrast, and all of those are really high contrast as well. So they're good in negative shape, but they can also be applied to, again, multiple concepts such as, you know, alignment, typography, emphasis, color theory, etc. And all of those are really, really creative and very simple illustrations showing a mask and the person behind it and how it transforms their personality. And I think that's pretty clever. Contrast in shape, it's a Coca-Cola thing. Maybe not. I'll keep this one for, you know what? I'm going to use it. A big splash of red on the page is always helpful. Here, I'm just changing the scale and the alignment of my images to create balance in my layout. So there you have some examples, for example, right? So this is just a layout. This is just me, you know, playing around with some stuff, and I can always change things if I don't like it. I can go, you know what, contrast, yeah, sure, contrast of size, sure. You know what, I can always play with more, design more stuff, but this is just to show you what you can do with a little bit of text, a few images, and you have something that is basically very self-explanatory, and it's very clean and informative. A few things that you can add to your document, of course, is, of course, a table of content if you want, but also the page numbers and a folio maybe in the corner. So I'm going to do that very quickly. I'm going to go into my master right here. I'm going to grab this text first, right there, Design Fundamentals. I'm going to go into my master. I'm going to drop that in there. And of course, this is really, really big. So I'm going to make that the same size. And I'm not going to create a new paragraph style for that, but I should. And I'm going to make it 8 point. It's really small, so I should zoom in like this. There you go. So I have GDT 10 Advanced Design Techniques, Design Fundamentals, and that's the title of my booklet right here. So since I want to emphasize design fundamentals, I'm going to make it 100% black. And then I have this text frame right here. I'm going to go right click and then fit frame to content. So my text is exactly the size of my text frame. My text frame, sorry, is exactly the size of my text. And I'm going to put it right there in between. But what I want to do is I want to do this. I want to create my text frame to be the height of my margin. Again, right click on it. Remember, it kept the text at the bottom. I want to center it. And in this case, it's centered now between my margin and the bottom of my page. I'm happy with this. Good. And I want to add a page number. And so I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to grab one of the numbers right here. Doesn't matter really. Create another text frame. Paste it in there. And again, same thing. Text frame options. Center the text. And I'm going to center that. I'm going to align it to the center. And instead of having a number 1 in there, because that would be a 1 on every page, I want to right click on that. I want to select it, right click on that, and insert special character, markers, current page number. I'm going to have an A because I'm in the A master. So that's exactly what I want. Everything lines up. It's aligned to my margins, aligned to my columns to the edge of my page, it's perfect. It's exactly what I want. And I want this to be quite small at the bottom. So another thing I can do is I can do this. I can select the text right here, and instead of medium, I'm going to make it thin. So now, again, more emphasis. And I want to grab that, duplicate all that stuff, drag it over to the right side of the page. And again, move my page marker on the right side and align that text now. Instead of left, align it to the right. Now it aligns to my margin. So this is my folio, my page number, the bottom of my page, and it's on every page in my master. So I have my page layout right there with a tiny little line at the top, a little bit of text at the bottom, and that's on my page layout for every page. So I can go back to my document, and now it's here on every page. So simple things like this on your master page can make a huge difference. It's organized and it's nice and clean. So in this case, I have the A master applied to my first cover, my first page right there. You can see if I move my black text, there's my gray line that is on my master. But if I replace my master with a none master, right, click and drag over, that stuff disappears, and there's no page number either at the bottom. So I can always keep that basically independent from the master. So that's basically the start of the document right here. You have some content, you have some images, and again, I can go back into my folder or my support folder that I have in here, and then go through the PDFs that we have in there. For example, I can go into the design elements, maybe not this guy, the new basics. There you go. So I can open this PDF right here, and I'm going to show you quickly how you can find stuff in those documents. They're really great. They have bookmarks in there, so I can go in there and I can definitely go quickly through all the topics in there. And so since I want to find something about contrast, let's say I'm going to grab this dimensional hierarchy, for example. I'm going to go and select all that stuff. I'm going to copy, so I'm using a shortcut, Command-C. Go back into my document, in my InDesign document, and then again create another text frame if I want to, right? For example, if I can create another text frame right here, just in those two columns right here, and I'm gonna make sure that it's in my copy. I'm gonna paste. You can see that it created this space that has a space in between each line, because each line copying from a PDF, each line becomes a paragraph because it has a return at the end of every line. So this is where you need to go into type, show hidden characters, and you can see that there's a return at the end of every line. So you need to replace that with a space at every time. So you have a little bit of work to do here. So I'm just going to do that very, very quickly. And I'm going to apply my title in this thing. There you go. So you have a little bit of text. There you go. Make sure that when you're copying something from a document, such as you want to grab the title of the document, right, and give them credit. So I'm going to again copy all that stuff, and I'm going to put another text frame at the very, very bottom. I want this to be really small. Again, it's going to be a footnote. I don't want to have any space after, no indentation. So you got to customize things a little bit, but I want to have this as a new paragraph style. Again, I'm going to call it footnote. I'm going to add a rule. So I have go paragraph rule. I'm going to add a rule above. So you go to rule above right here. You turn it on, so you have a line above, and I want to have again a thin line, and I want to offset it so it's actually above the text. And here I want to have a soft return, so I go shift return. So I have my line automatically based in my document right here. So in this case, everything is in all caps. How do I change that in all caps? Because it's not all caps. This is the text that you copied over. I want to go into type, and I want to go into title case because there's a capital at the beginning of every word, except the end. So I change that manually, and that is it. So this is your little footnote at the bottom. Make it smaller. My footnote, I want to align it to the right. Oh, you know what? No, I'm not going to. Just like that. And now I can bring some more images in there. So I have my little footnote, I have my little paragraph that I grabbed from it, etc. So, and you can keep on going like this. So here, in just, in a very short amount of time, I created a document that I can work from. I have some paragraph styles, I have a cover, I have a bunch of images that I did some research for. So I spent a few hours looking for those images already. But as soon as you have all those tools at your disposal, you can start working on your layout and create a document. So this is kind of how to do your GDT10 project right here. Again, you refer to the checklist is probably the easiest way to follow. So this is the first booklet, and then all those topics below. You can grab the text from that is provided to you, but again, read it, right? Apply what you see, apply what you read, right? Contrast of size, well, you apply that, right? You find some examples that will show you this. And always, when you design something, always keep in mind an audience. So in this case, think of an audience that has never heard of graphic design. Your 85-year-old neighbor, your auntie from Saskatchewan that has no idea what you're doing in school. This is your audience. You're explaining those principles, those fundamentals of design to somebody that has never heard of it. And that's basically a good way and a good process, a good way to work. Have fun, play with type, play with colors, add some different things. I just, made my own design choices in this case, but you can do your own choices. Change the layout, change the format, make it vertical, make it horizontal, make it square. Go and have some fun.